Hello, welcome to koan for Clojure, Clone 24, which is about macros. This is now my fourth attempt to record this. Real life keeps intervening. Yes, this is about macros. Macros are a way of replacing code before compilation. So for example, here in this first test, the macro hello, which is defined at the top of the file, is replaced by this expression here, or this list here, the function string, the string hello, and the argument list which is passed to the macro hello. So this turns into the following. Just replace it with what you see in line 5 above. String hello and x takes macros, and when that is evaluated it just becomes, as we know, that, and that should work. Does it work? Yes, that's fine. Okay, infix we see defined here. It takes a list of arguments, which here receives the name form for no apparent reason. And it replaces itself with a list of the second item in form, followed by the first item in the form, followed by the item at the second position. So that would mean the third item, because you count from 0, of course. So that gets replaced with that, which of course then gets evaluated to 10. Here there's a bit of syntax. There's a function here called macro expand. I found out what that does, in that it will perform the macro substitution, but if you add this quote here, it will not evaluate the substitution. So you can check to see what the macro is actually doing, and this will just be replaced. So infix 9 plus 1 will be replaced by this expression here. Yes. Now we get to write our own macro, which does pretty much the same thing as this macro here, probably, in that rather than just that we now dequote the various items in the list, so they can be evaluated, and then we just have to add the last item in the list. Sorry, that should be a space. And the result of doing that, because we have macro expand and the quote mark, we don't have to actually write the answer, we just write what that turns into. And there's a problem with this definition, which I just wrote here above, and that is that it isn't recursive. So if either the second or the third item in form is itself a list, it will not call infix on that list, but it will expect standard Lisp argument sequences, order of arguments. So this is not going to go right. Instead it's going to return that, which of course is not valid Lisp code and cannot be evaluated. So they have a fix for that, and they write a more complicated macro here, recursive infix, I suppose. This macro does all sorts of things now. This one has multiple arguments, and also works recursively. It descends into each of the expressions. And the first test, we have a cond which tests for different sorts of form. So if the recursive infix macro is applied to a single argument, it should just return that argument, for example. If that is not a sequence, it should just return that argument. Otherwise, if there's just one element in the form, it should apply r_infix to the first element of that form. Okay. Otherwise, this comes into play, which defines the operator as being the second element of the form, because we're transforming from infix notation into standard Lisp, Polish notation, if you wish, or prefix notation. The first argument becomes the first element of the form, and the others is just going to be what's left afterwards. So if you want, you can call this rest. Sorry, that should be rest of form. That is all the other arguments, as you can see here. In this example, they have 10 would be the first, plus would be the second, which is now the operator. So 10 is the first, which is now just called the first arg. Plus is now called the operator here, that receives plus. First arg receives 10, and rest form receives all the other arguments. So 2 times 3 plus 4 times 5. Okay. And then what is evaluated is the operator gets evaluated with the result of calling recursive infix on the first argument and the result of calling recursive infix on the others. And that should well work. Let's see if it does. Okay. I have reached Clojure enlightenment. Well, I don't think I have done yet, but we seem to have dealt with a lot of the basics of how Clojure works. Of course, the important thing about programming isn't just learning the rules about how string concatenation works or something. The important thing is learning the basic idioms, learning how to structure code, learning about namespaces, things like that, learning how to work together with others who structure code. So so the methods they use, but it's a good start, and hopefully that removes a little bit of the fear from those who are new to Clojure. Good. And apparently I've reached Clojure enlightenment namaste. I have no idea what that means. Something to Google. Okay, many thanks.